Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very well. Okay, today I want to talk about Gabbie Hanna, and I was really inspired to make this video because I have been on this little, I want to say bender, that sounds like really weird to say, it's just like a drinking binge, a bender, but like if it was me like coming up with video ideas. I've been on this little bender, I guess is the word we're going for, of these like sit down videos where like I kind of write in my notes like a structure of how I wanted to go, deep diving certain people, certain things, and this has been one that I've wanted to do for quite some time, and I was really inspired to do it because last night actually I spent at least 2 hours of my night deep diving Gabbie Hanna's music. Now here's the thing, I talk about Gabbie Hanna and we have called her out, we have praised her, we have, you know, been negative, we've been all around the towns and everything with Gabbie Hanna. And I love to clown on her music, but my God, she has some songs that are good as tea. That song, Happy in the End, amazing. That Bad Karma, good. Call Me Crazy, the song she wrote about Trisha Paytas, for Trisha Paytas, whoo! Her music, I'm gonna give it to her. Some of it, ridiculous. Some of it, I like it. I like the beat. Great guns. But anyways, I was coming up with this video and writing things down while I was listening to her music last night. I don't know why I feel the need to share that. It feels a little bit embarrassing, but I was just really getting in the Gabbie model. Now, I was really inspired to do this video, which is basically going to be like Gabbie Hanna's final internet breakdown and what has led to her like religious era, I guess, is what she's in right now. And the reason that I wanted to make this video, other than that I've been listening to her music, was I was at the airport a couple days ago going to Paris, and I got a notification. I didn't even know that I was still subscribed to Gabbie Hanna, but I got a notification that was like, Gabbie Hanna has uploaded on YouTube. And I was like, number one, I didn't know I was subscribed to her, and number two, I didn't even know Gabbie Hanna was still making fucking YouTube videos. So I click on the video, and how perfectly titled the video was, it was like how I got over my fear of flying. And I was like, oh my God, I am so scared of flying. I'm about to get on a plane, and this is perfect for me. And it was my first time flying in like 6 months. So I watched the video, and I don't know what I was expecting, but it was her sitting in an airport quite like this, and she was talking about her fear of flying and the fact that, you know, she doesn't really do the influencer bit anymore, but whenever she did, she was traveling like at least once a week kind of thing. And she was talking about how she had a big fear of flying and how she got over that. And I'm listening, I'm waiting. And then basically the remaining of the video is just talking about Jesus and God and Bible verses, and that the reason that she was scared of flying wasn't actually that she was scared of flying or dying, but actually that she wasn't like in a good enough standing with Jesus Christ as what she would like to be if something happened to her. And then I immediately clicked off the video because I was like, damn, I don't know if I have enough time for that. My flight, you know, fucking departs in 40 minutes. But anyways, it really got me thinking about Gabbie and kind of where she's at right now. So I present to you Gabbie Hanna, her final social media breakdown, and what led to where she is at right now, because a lot of people comment all the time in my videos being like, where's Gabbie Hanna? Where's Gabbie Hanna? Let me tell you where Gabbie Hanna is. And let's just start from the beginning, I guess, which is, again, that Gabbie Hanna was, you know, one of these Vine stars that really blew up whenever they moved to YouTube. And she had one of the most successful transitions. And I think that was because she was friends with a lot of people in the industry that were also moving over, and they kind of like blended audiences, and they were all successful together. I think that Gabbie also, quite like Tana Mongeau, was a good storyteller, whether the stories were true or false. She was great at telling a story. She was exaggerated. She was over the top. She was entertaining, and she was everything that like worked for that transition over. Because it's also important to note that to give credit to these people, I know it sounds stupid to give credit to like Viners turning into YouTubers, but their full bit was only being funny for like 5 fucking seconds. And so the fact that they had to move over into making longer form content and they kept an audience is actually quite impressive. So with Gabbie, I think it's really interesting because, again, over the course of her time on social media, she has had many breakdowns. But there was one that was so big that it seemed like she didn't want to come back from it, and that it was her final straw. And I'm going to be honest, she hit every nail in the coffin on her way out. She ignited every feud. She fought with every bitch. And she let strangers into her house. It honestly is so crazy looking back. So anyways, let's get into it. So again, she went from Vine to YouTube, and, you know, I think that with Gabby, she's always been a really interesting one to watch because she's always been incredibly unpredictable to me. So, again, I think that one thing to note about Gabby alongside her Vine success, and I think this kind of tells the story of it all, is that friendship that she had with Jessie Smiles. And I think that they were, the internet's like kind of duo for a lot of people. They really loved their friendship, their dynamic together, and shout out to Jessie Smiles. I hope you're doing well. And again, that was something that we need to note from the start because obviously that was a part of one of the biggest fallouts at the end of Gabby's career. So everything really started to implode, obviously, whenever, Jessie Smiles spoke up about, Curtis Lepore and was basically talking about him assaulting her. And fans later then found out that Gabby had actually allegedly stayed friends with Curtis after this and that she didn't cut him off and that she was hearing him out and hearing his side, etc. And why would you do that whenever, you and Jessie Smiles are supposedly, really good friends and stuff? Like a horrifying thing to do. And this would be something that for the duration of Gabbie Hanna's YouTube time would continuously be brought up. Like Gabby would always get in scandals, right? She would always sometimes say the wrong thing. She would sometimes be offensive. She would, exaggerate a story. Remember the time when she did a story about, I think someone like dying in her hometown? Not good. She got herself involved in so much drama, back and forth with Trisha Paytas, back and forth with other creators. Gabbie Hanna had a very tumultuous time on the internet, but a lot of things came and went. One thing that didn't was this situation with Jessie Smiles because it needed to have been taken seriously. And with Gabbie Hanna, it never really was. And obviously, as they should, as I and everyone should be, rallied behind Jessie Smiles in this situation. But with Gabbie Hanna and her fans, at least the core ones, the approach seemed a little bit different. And so anytime Gabby would be exposed for things, this Jessie Smiles situation of Gabby still being friends with Curtis would really continue to come up. And Gabby would never properly really sort out that situation or want to sort out that situation, which from a public standpoint was probably also just from a humanity standpoint, like that's your friend. You should want to do this anyway if someone is confiding and talking about these things happening to them as a human, but also from like a career standpoint, the fact that she didn't choose to, side with her friend publicly was very strange, in my opinion. Now, when Jessie spoke about it publicly years later, Gabby tried to defend herself with these series of videos and voice recordings that no one asked for. And this was really, in my opinion, the pillar of the end for Gabbie Hanna's social career because she had an ability that if people were calling her out for something and she had already doubled down on it, she would never, ever want to change her opinion on it. And that may work with some dramas, but with Jessie Smiles, it wasn't drama. It was not drama at all. And when Gabbie Hanna really kind of reached her breaking point on the internet, she fucking turned to doing an exposed series, and it really heavily focused on Jessie Smiles and the truth in her eyes about Jessie Smiles and Curtis and Gabby's involvement with Curtis and Gabby's involvement with Jessie Smiles. But in doing this, Gabbie Hanna released full audio recordings of calls with Jessie, and number one, it came across as incredibly performative. Number two, it came across as disgusting. Number three, it came across as embarrassing for Gabby. Number four, it came across as incredibly disgusting, and just it was one of the worst things, honestly, to witness at that time period on the internet of Gabbie Hanna doubling down on this Jessie Smiles situation and this back and forth and releasing these audio calls and stuff. It was such a situation that shouldn't have played out online, but Gabby clearly wanted the last word, and it was horrendous. And I my heart broke for Jessie, and I know that everyone on the internet was just like, Gabby, what are you doing? And when she started doing that and really doubling down, she really lost everyone. And the more people called her out, the more she would respond with these snarky takes and these exposed videos. And she ultimately did this exposed series where it was basically her response and her side of the story to everyone she's had drama with: Rice Gum, Trisha Paytas, Jessie Smiles, Angelica Oles. And her doing this was kind of like, from a public standpoint, why are you bringing these things up again? Why? And it looked like she was targeting and harassing these people that all in all kind of looked like she would fixate on people that she had done wrong, that they called her out, but she was trying to rewrite history, and it did not work in her favor at all. And I frequently look back on her Exposed series and I wonder what her motives were with it, because there's no way that she thought that it was going to change people's opinions. Her tone, the fact that she was so high as fuck in most of these, I really don't know what her angle was going to be. I don't know if she truly believed what she was saying. I don't know if she just wanted the last word. I don't know if she wanted to just ignite drama for attention, for money. I have no fucking idea. Was this her plan all along, to trigger enough people and then leave the internet, make enough money to leave the internet? I do not know. I will never be able to rationalize the thought of why she would do an Exposed series bringing up everyone who's ever exposed her, and then she would try expose them. It just would not have worked at all. She was trying to like set the record straight about situations that had happened years and years ago that didn't feel like they needed clarifying from a public standpoint anymore. So again, it looked like she was drama obsessed. And the more that she tried to say that she wasn't drama obsessed, the more it looked like she was drama obsessed. It was bad. Also with Jessie Smiles, it really looked like Gabby was trying to like control like Jessie's Survivor story. And why are you doing that? Like, why are you doing that? It was, you could argue tone deaf, but I would argue that it was career ruining. Like, I would argue that there's no coming back from that. Yes, it's tone deaf, but I would argue that there's no fucking coming back from that at all. And now, I think with Gabbie Hanna, it's important to note that we see this over and over and over again, because I want to talk about, you know, the feuds that she did in her final hurrah of the internet, because there was a fucking lot of them. There was a fucking lot of them. It just seemed that Gabby was like her biggest downfall. Gabby was her biggest enemy. She was the one. She would say that everyone else was, she would say drama channels. She would say Trisha. She would say Jessie. All these people are to blame for her career, you know, in fucking downfall and people calling her out. But what she never fucking realized was that she was the reason that she was the biggest enemy of her own career. She would start drama and like clockwork release music. And it just looked like this pattern that people are like, what are you doing? We see through you. And then she would argue she wasn't. It was so fucking weird. Like she's one of the only people that I literally looked at and I was like, for the sake of her mental health, I hope she gets off the internet. So anyways, I have this next journey that I want to take us on, which is she got involved in a lot of drama over her career, but this was her last hurrah. Hoo-ya Navy! Hoo-ya Navy! If you watch my streams, you'll know that. Oh, okay. Hello. Welcome over here now. So, the feuds that we're going to be going through, I want to start with the Joey Graceffa and Daniel Paredes. So, a too long to read of this was that Gabbie Hanna was on Escape the Night. And on one of the seasons of Escape the Night, apparently she was incredibly difficult to work with. Shocker. And she actually was the one who made this exposed video on Joey Graceffa and Daniel Paredes, and she was responding to the fact that Joey and Daniel would make shady remarks about that she was hard to work with in the last couple of years. So Gabby ended up making this exposed video on them years later, along with the other exposed videos that she was doing. And she was responding to their snarky comments, and she was like, I'm going to set the record straight. It's this common theme of I'm going to set the record straight. She made this video attacking Joey, attacking Daniel, and let me tell you something. I am not the biggest fan of Joey Graceffa, and I'm certainly not the biggest fan of Daniel Paredes. Her video was unnecessary. It was starting shit for no reason. It almost felt at times that like she wasn't believing herself. It was so fucking unnecessary and so fucking weird. It probably felt necessary to her, but from a public standpoint, there was no editing involved. So anyway, she did this full thing about how actually they were the problem and she had such a bad experience or whatever, and people didn't know what was going to happen with these exposed videos that she was making. Were people going to respond? Were they not? Joey and Daniel respond, they did. And Joey and Daniel responded both with their own videos. And I would say that Joey and specifically Daniel had one of the best between them clapbacks of all fucking time. So Gabby was dealing with putting herself on the line and making these really crazy drama-filled exposed videos, very unnecessary. They probably felt necessary to her, but from a career standpoint, they weren't. Joey and Daniel responded with one of the greatest YouTube clapbacks I would ever see. Daniel Prada specifically, I think, challenging for the James Charles No More Lies video. Daniel Prada fucking read Gabbie Hanna down, showed every fucking receipt, and basically they both painted a picture that Gabby was unprofessional. She didn't care about the production. She wanted to be the star. She was not good with time management. She was unprofessional, hard to work with, basically describing how everything she was describing was self-inflicted or made up. So, oh my God. It's important to note as well, she talked about production, she talked about the behind-the-scenes staff, and then Joey and Daniel in their response video really defended those people and then ultimately looked really good for standing up with people who are essentially voiceless in this situation because they don't have YouTube channels. They were dropping receipts, text messages, behind-the-scenes clips. Rosanna Pansino, I'm pretty sure even Colleen Ballant, maybe Colleen did, I have no fucking idea. Anyway, and Nikita Dragon, I think, I don't know. There were people that were on the set that were also speaking up in the defense. I know Rosanna for sure. In the defense that Gabbie Hanna was horrible. So Gabby was now working against everyone else, debunking what she was saying that she brought up in the first place. They said that she arrived late, she was refusing wardrobe fittings, and basically that she was just disrespectful of everyone's time, disrespectful to the crew. So now the public, and these videos from Joey and Daniel blew up, whereas Gabby's ones weren't getting that many views. And so anyways, and I'm pretty sure she was posting them on like a side channel. So Joey and Daniel were posting on their main channels, they were getting all these views. So now it was being brought to people's attention that weren't even watching Gabby's series, that she was maybe a bad person, which just didn't help at all. Her attempts to expose Joey and Daniel turned into, quite honestly, probably the biggest expose of her career from Joey and Daniel. It was quite crazy. But this, again, is a pattern that we would see over and over again. But this was like the last hurrah and the last time that it really happened because it got too big. You know, this was 2020, you know, it seemed that Gabby had gone fully unhinged. She, you know, again, like I said, was focusing on this Expose series, and it was her, you know, trying to, you know, talk about every rumor and every person that's done her wrong, like we said. And she was showing text messages, she was dragging old friends, and she was using titles like The Truth About This, or The Truth About That, or Escape the Nightmare, and all these different, which I love that title, by the way, I do love that title. And it was just so unnecessary. It literally looked like she was starting drama with everyone, including like, she would start drama with a fucking rock. Hello? It was crazy. And again, I think it's important to note that she set out to clear her name with this series, but instead she ruined her reputation with this series. And so it was almost like as well that she was talking at us, not trying to like it was almost like she was angry at us for believing what other people would say. So she wasn't even pandering to the audience to try be on her side. And again, it was just it was so terrible. This series was one of the worst decisions that I think she ever could make. Another person, like I said, that she attacked was Angelica Oles, a drama channel. She said that Angelica Oles was like ruining her life, and she was basically calling Angelica Oles all these different names and demanding apologies from her. She was literally demanding apologies from drama channels for making content of her because of past videos they had made, and regardless of the topic, with everything else she was doing, this was not a good look. It looked like she couldn't take criticism, or she couldn't be open to discussions about what she has done, whether or not these people she was exposing were in the right or wrong. The way she was handling these situations, it didn't even matter if they were in the right and the wrong. She was literally begging for apologies and threatening for apologies, but then also saying, I don't care, I've grown past it. And it was just not making sense. It was not making sense at all. And then, dear Lord, this, I think, is the last hurrah of, like, when Gabby, like, was done with the internet. Oh, my God. I don't know if you remember, but I think it was 2022. It was 2022. When Gabbie Hanna, in, I think, 24 hours, literally posted hundreds of videos on TikTok. Hundreds of videos, rambling in the mirror, praying, shouting for Jesus, painting, like rambling, meditating. It was fucking everything under the sun. She posted hundreds of videos in like one day. It was insane. It was like boom, 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 boom. This was not a good look. And also, people started to get really concerned. Really concerned. She was quoting scripture. She was like screaming affirmations. She was crying. She was laughing. She was talking to God. She was finding God. She was finding spirituality. It was honestly quite scary to watch. It was honestly quite scary to watch. It was manic. It was fucking erratic at best, manic at worst. And it was really, really, really disturbing. It was really disturbing. And then it escalated and got worse whenever Gabby posted a video letting a fucking stranger, I think his name was Nick, into her house, who already knew her, and she was saying, I let the stranger in, and then a while later, she's like, you know who I am, get the fuck out of my house. What's going on? It was so terrifying. It literally looked like she was a danger to herself. She was putting herself in. It was so fucking scary to watch, and it was so unhinged that we were watching it all play out. It was, I'm like worked up here. It was unbelievable. Just thinking back on that, it was so unbelievable watching that all unfold. It was scary. It was really, really, really scary. It was really scary. You know, this narrative of Gabbie Hanna being manic and crazy, and she fed into it, you know, was around for a long time. But I think for once, like, everyone was actually concerned rather than it being a joke. But Gabby was still laughing. And that made people even more concerned. It was, in my opinion, a mental health crisis and breakdown, and something that shouldn't have been on social media. Shouldn't. And I don't know why people didn't step in immediately. Now, after this, thankfully, Gabbie Hanna kind of disappeared from the internet, or at least majorly. And this was very needed for the sake of her safety, in my opinion. And then Gabbie Hanna later emerged from the internet, or back to the internet, with a newfound way of life. She had now found God. She had found God. And she said that the breakdown that we experienced was her divine intervention. And that fame was her punishment for chasing ego instead of light. This was the kind of narrative. And that she had been chosen to share the truth. This kind of spiel. Okay. Now, I, for one, was at least a little bit relieved that she was seemingly not as manic as what she was, still appearing quite manic, but you know what I mean? She started fully just quoting Bible verses in all of her content and started doing faith-based content and claiming that she had now finally found peace. And so what's interesting about this is people didn't find this authentic. And people, you know, in that moment of her coming back, I think really trolled on her still because they didn't believe it. And then it's important to note that people just wanted her to get help in any capacity. And then I would say that in 2023, this is when Gabby kind of stopped posting. And this was someone who was going from talking about everything that happened about them in story times. Every fucking vlog was, you know, every single story. She now had like nothing else to share with the public. And I think that that was the best thing that she could have ever done. I think that that was the best thing she could have ever done because she finally stepped away after years of needing to step away. Now, she posts here and there on social media and it's all very like Jesus-y, all right? And whatever audience is left, all right? Gabby is an interesting one. It was a mental health crisis on full display, in my opinion. It was exhausting. It was very tiring. It was unnecessary. And I think that Gabby focused so much on being authentic that when people said that she wasn't authentic, it ruined her. And her way of dealing with that was what we just described. Was it good? No. Was it helpful? No. Did it work? No. I think that when I think of Gabby's career, with her talking about her music to starting Feuds to that Exposed series, I find the Exposed series really interesting. I think that she has a need to be like heard and seen. And I think that Gabby herself believes that she is misunderstood. But that mixed with what was clearly ego was not sustainable for internet fame. It was not at all. And to end it on a little bit of a good note, I think that Gabby walking away was actually maybe not the thing that saved her career, but maybe the thing that saved her life. And that is the tale of the final breakdown of Gabbie Hanna and why Gabbie Hanna left the internet. This was really fascinating to look back on. It was a scary, 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 tiring time period, and so many people had to deal with so much shit because Gabbie Hanna was going through clearly a mental health crisis. So it is for the best that she isn't on social media as what she once was. And she has moved out of LA and all the rest. I think that was the best decision she could have ever made. Thinking back on all these things happening, I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. Specifically that day of all those TikToks and letting that guy in her house. Bonkers. Oof, a heavy one. Let me know your opinions. We'll talk about it down below. I appreciate you being here. And goodbye.